Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another session with the older man. Today, we're going to continue with the same conversation that we've been having over the last two sessions, and that is sexuality within marriages or relationships, because there's not much difference between a marriage and a relationship that is serious except the legal binding contract. Now, the reason this conversation started was because a lot of men were complaining that their women were withholding sex during marriages. Now, I've had 4 women so far who has came forward and asked me the question, well, what happens when your husband withholds sex within the marriage? And so I want to basically address it from the female's perspective. So ladies, if you are listening, we're going to discuss why men withhold sex during marriages. One of my subscribers, a female, she asked me this one question. Her name is Parfait9. She said, my husband is the one withholding sex. I have respectfully requested more attention from him, but he's not responding, and he is avoiding talking about it. Once or twice a month is not enough for me. We have been together for almost 3 years, married for 1. What's going on with him? And so I thought I would respond to her here in this particular episode, my friends. But before we get into the subject, please give me a thumbs up on this message. It's going to be a good one. There's not going to be any videos. It's just going to be me talking today. So bear with my voice, okay? I try to break it up with videos because, you don't want to just listen to this all the time,
The stereotype of a husband pressuring a wife for sex, that is by no means the case in all marriages. In somewhere around 25 to 30% of marriages, the wife wants sex more. And it can hurt when that's not happening. I heard from one wife who said, I have been in a sexless marriage coexisting for years. It feels like someone keeps stabbing my heart. I feel hopeless and defeated.
I have 7 or 8 different reasons why men will withhold sex, but a lot of them are quite intertwined because it's very rare that men will withhold sex. Because ladies, there's only 2 reasons why men will withhold sex, or men perceive to be withholding sex. It's either because he can't have sex or he don't want to have sex. And those 2 things can be intertwined as well. And you will see what I'm talking about when we get started in these reasons. Because ladies, you got to realize that men and sex and women and sex are 2 totally different things. Men produce life when he has sex and have an orgasm. He produces over 700 million sperms with every single ejaculation. Well, if he has a low sperm count, it might come out to 200 million. But point is, that's the amount of sperm cells. And all it takes is 1 to get to your egg. That's it. So you have to understand the difference between males and females, because we always get into this idea that we're all the same. It's bullshit. Ladies, when you have an orgasm, you don't produce any eggs. All you do is produce a fluid that helps the sperm get to the egg. That's it. Yes, you have a great feeling, but you don't produce life when you have sex. You drop 1 egg that's non-functioning, doesn't move. All it does is it drops. That's it. The sperm gives it life. So ladies, please understand, we function differently. And the reason why men are always horny is because he needs to put those sperm cells somewhere. All it takes is 1 man. That 1 man with 100 women could repopulate an entire city in very little time. But if you had 1 woman and 100 men, all she can do is repopulate once every year and a half. 1 child every year and a half. A man can do that in 1 day. If he had 100 women who were ovulating at the same time, 9 months later, you will have 100 kids. You see the difference between sex? So we got to get out of this notion that men and women are the same and we have sex the same and we feel the same. Second thing that you got to really understand is that a man has to physically get up in order for him to perform sexually. A woman just have to open her legs. And if she's dry, throw a little lube in there and you're good to go. But men have to be physically functional. That's the difference. So if you hold that in your mind for a while, that will allow us to actually get into the reasons why a man will probably not want to have sex. Or is it he don't want it or he can't? Number one, stress. Men are under a tremendous amount of stress on a daily basis. This is simple. And if you're stressed, your stress hormones are taking over everything else. You just cannot function. Your brain is saying, no, nothing is going down there. Nothing is happening down there. Everything is just dead because all of the blood is literally going to your brain. Nothing is going to the little brain down here. It's no other way to tell you it. This is simple. Stress will kill a man's sex drive in a heartbeat. Number two, which is closely related to stress, depression. If your man is going through a depressive state, he's not going to feel horny. He's not going to feel aroused. I've been through depressions in my lifetime. All right, it didn't bother me, but I'm a different animal. But the point is that it does kill a lot of men's sex drive, okay? Just letting you know, it does affect a man. Number three, anxiety. Now, this could either be performance anxiety or it could just be anxiety about paying the bills, which is also stress related. It could be anxiety about something else that's happening in his life, and it's literally just stopping him from getting aroused, both physically and mentally. Okay? So I'll deal with one more that deals with more the mental part of it, and that is lack of sleep. If your man is literally burning the candles at both ends or he's not being able to sleep properly, he will have a harder time actually functioning sexually. So I've gone through a lot of the mental parts of what will stop a man from feeling sexual about you. All right? I'm going to add one more. If he suspects that you're cheating or you're unclean for him, it might turn him off as well. So if he doesn't feel like you're his, most men will actually feel like you're dirty. Listen, it's not something I agree with. It's just I'm telling you the facts. These are what men have told me. I've had a man who suspected his wife was cheating, and he said, Paul, I just not turned on by her because I feel that she's not there. So if a man doesn't feel like you're connected to him, and you're his, he will turn off. He will shut down as well. So some men will do that. So all right. So all of these are just mental issues that men go through that stops him from performing sexually. Now let's get into the physical parts because this is usually the biggest culprits. And this is what men get accused of a lot. All right. ED, erectile dysfunction. Now this can come for a number of reasons. The number one problem is low testosterone count. That one drug that we produce a lot of when we're young teenagers. That's why teenagers are so horny. It is a growth hormone every single boy needs to get from a boy, teenager, to a man. He produces a tremendous amount of it when he's young, in his early 18, 19, 20s. Usually stop around 21, 22. That's why the drinking age in certain countries are only allowed at age 21. Some countries is 18 because the amount of testosterone in a boy's body at that point is so overwhelming, he feels invincible. Add alcohol to that shit, you got a recipe for disaster. So that's why it's important to control whatever substance young boys put in their body during that time. But that's the best time to get them in the army because they're incredibly aggressive. And because of that aggression, it's easy to mold them into top-notch soldiers when they're that age. Just a side note. But by the time the man reaches 25, testosterone level starts to drop. He's already grown. He's now a full-grown man. By the time he hits 30, drops again. And every 5 years consecutively, it drops and it drops and drops. So by the time the guy reaches 40, 45, his testosterone levels are quite low. Depending on, get this, please, whether the man exercises with weights, weight lifting. It is the only thing, not running, not rowing. These exercises keeps it maintained at a low level, but if you want to increase your testosterone levels, you have to lift weights. Why? Why is weightlifting important? Well, testosterone is responsible for growing muscle. Remember what I said. It takes a boy and grows him into an adult. That means his muscularity, his bones, everything grows when he's producing a massive amount of testosterone. The body will produce that naturally. Because he's a fully grown man, it's no longer required. But when you lift weights and you tear the muscle tissues when you're lifting weights and they have to be repaired, the body needs to produce testosterone to grow the muscle bigger. Hence, it's now forced to produce more testosterone. Once the testosterone starts flowing, then you start to feel horny again. Your sex drive starts to get a lot higher. I never stopped lifting weights, so I never had a problem with ED. Erectile dysfunction. So, gentlemen, ladies, if your husband is suffering from ED, he needs to drop some body fat and he needs to start lifting weights. Not walking, not out there freaking doing some Pilates bullshit. Lifting heavy weight in order for his body to produce testosterone. There's no magic bullet to it. Simple freaking equation. Produce testosterone so that the muscles can grow. What will happen? He will grow some muscle, and in turn, he will start losing some body fat, starts looking better, start feeling better mentally, and his testosterone is up, feeling stronger, he's horny again. So that's why it's vital for 50, 60, 70, 80-year-old men to keep lifting weights. Got it? Now, a lot of guys are dependent on porn. A lot of men love porn, and if you become porn dependent, where you only get off on porn because you've been, whacking off the porn a lot, you become accustomed to seeing all of those images. You become accustomed to it, so that when actually you get with a real woman or you're in a real relationship, it's not the same. The fantasy and the reality is not the same. So you don't get turned on by your wife anymore. So you gentlemen, you got to be careful of that. You got to reset your body where, you stop watching porn. You have to get back to the normality of being with your woman or wife. And that brings us to the next one, boredom. Guys, if you're having sex and you're doing the every Tuesday night at 8:30, right? And it's rigid and it's clinical, that's not going to get your man up and ready, man. No, it's just become, all it is an appointment to get off. You need to switch it up. You need to keep it exciting. You need to do it in different locations. You need to book a hotel somewhere, or, do something freaky on the beach or in the water or somewhere different. Wake shit up. The monotony of doing it routinely all the time will not only make the man bored where he can't perform, it will also make the woman bored. So you got to learn how to spice up your sex life. But that can kill a lot of men's libido as well. So the next one, and most importantly, because this is going to happen to a lot of men as they hit their late 40s and 50s and up. They're going to be on medication for prostate problems, usually an enlarged prostate. I can't remember the clinical name for it. I also suffer from this, an enlarged prostate. I'm going to bring my urologist on so that we can have a conversation about this. But enlarged prostates, in order for it to stop growing, you have to take a drug that is an alpha blocker. An alpha blocker that stops the testosterone from feeding your prostate and stop it from growing. But what it does, it also kills your sex drive a bit. And if you are not lifting weights and staying in shape and having regular sex or masturbation, your sex drive will drop significantly. And this is where the biggest problem comes in with a lot of men. You have to understand there is something called use it or lose it when it comes to the human body. What do I mean by that? If you stop having sex for a period of time, your body shuts down. The sexual chemicals and hormones and organs, everything shuts down. You say, you're not using it, so I'll shut it down. If you don't believe me, try not walking or exercising for a couple of weeks or 2 months. What happens? Your muscles start to shrink. Your lungs start to shrink. You become out of shape. We just call it different names, right? Our body just adapts to whatever condition we put it under. So if you stop exercising or stop running, etc., you get out of shape, all of a sudden those organs no longer work as well. If you stop running and then all of a sudden you start to run again, 1 mile feels like you're running 10 miles until you get your body back in shape, that's what we call it, to actually start running 10 miles again. Same thing with sex. If you stop having sex for a while, guess what? The body shuts down. Those sexual organs and hormones shuts down. Now you got to reboot it again. So you got to make sure that you keep the pump primed. You got to constantly be making sure that you're having orgasms regularly, gentlemen. And if you're not, and if you're taking medication, these alpha blockers for your prostate, because a lot of men, especially black men, are on these drugs. If you are not masturbating like it's an exercise, that's where unfortunately you're going to have to do some porn, but don't become addicted. If you are not having sex on a regular basis, even when you don't feel like it, you better have it at least 3 to 4 times a week. You better be having an orgasm. Otherwise, your libido will drop significantly. Your body will shut down. Because these alpha blockers are horrible. So for all of you ladies, understand one thing. It is usually not because your husband don't want to have sex with you. It is simply because he can't have sex with you and he's embarrassed about telling you it. That is usually the problem 99% of the time. Because no man signs up to get married to not have sex with his woman. None. Now, there's one last one I want to mention. And it's closely related to the porn thing. A lot of men have been accustomed to having prostitutes. You've been single or you've always had prostitutes whenever you had relationships, etc. And it's difficult to have sex with your wife because you see her as pure. I've seen this many times. You don't want to do the freaky stuff with your woman, but the prostitute, she will do whatever you want because you're paying her for it. So the sex life is hot with the prostitute, especially if you have a regular one that you go to all the time. Yeah. So you get used to the way she does it. But your wife, she's trying to be the nice, sweet woman that you married. She's not into the freaky deaky shit, doing all kinds of positions, taking it in every whole type of thing. She don't do that. So you don't get turned on by your wife because she's the mother of your kids. But your prostitute, the side chick, she does everything that you want. So that's where you get your sexual pleasure. But in the meantime, what you're doing is you're ignoring your wife. That's a major mistake, my friend. You better make sure if you have a side chick that you're taking care of your work at home. I'm not advocating for men to have side chicks. Please, don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is take care of your home life. Make sure that your wife is satisfied first, period. And then teach her how to do the freaky stuff. Tell her you want the freaky stuff. I know a lot of you wives don't want to friggin', swing from the ceilings and open up all the holes, etc. I don't want to get too graphic, but I'm trying to get across a lesson to you. You got to do it in order to keep your relationship fresh. Because if you want it to last for decades and decades, you got to be honest with your partner, man. Yeah, I could be a sex therapist. I come from the Caribbean, man. A whole different world over there. Oh, my friends. So, ladies, I hope you now understand why your man would not want to have sex with you in your marriage. Gentlemen, if you're suffering with any one of these problems, please make sure that you cure it. Get help for it. But more importantly, I want to leave it one message. Make sure you get your prostates checked, please. If you are anywhere over the age of 35, especially if you're a black man, go and get your prostate checked. Don't ignore it. It's not something to joke about. That's something we're going to get into later on. All right, my friends. Listen, I'm going to shut it off there. Let me know your thoughts. Give me your feedback. Let me know if you're having any problems, ladies, at home with your husband. Have any questions at all? I'm here. Log in to askanolderman.com. Book a session with me. Let's have a conversation. All right? So until the next time, remember, whenever in doubt, always ask an older man. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.